Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the What Pets Want podcast. I'm CJ Derby and I'm here with Chloe Brunsma, and we are going to be discussing the topic of euthanasia tonight. But a quick reminder, our channel is opinion based. We're sharing our own experiences, and our opinions and experiences we share should never take the place of your veterinarian. I'm going to turn this over to Chloe now. Chloe, how are you tonight?
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? Um, Euthanasia is a topic that people, first of all, don't love to talk about, but it is one that needs to be talked about. It's a scary time. And being a vet tech, with my clients when I worked at the animal hospital, um, I would talk to a lot of my clients out of the animal hospital about it. Like they ask questions like, if this was your dog, what would you do? Which is a very common question. And the thing is they do ask the vets, but the vets are not really allowed to say anything about it. And you kind of, if you do ask them, they kind of like redirect the question. Um, as far as me being a tech, I have done a lot, euthanasias in my time. I have a lot of different experiences. They're never the same. They're always going to be different. I even have my experiences with my personal dogs. Right now, I have my 8-year-old Greyhound mix. More than likely, she's been losing a lot of weight. I think she has some kind of bladder cancer going on. We have to take her to the vet and get an x-ray, but I'm keeping her comfortable with pain meds and switched her food to a urinary veterinary based food, and she's doing very well. It's just I noticed her losing a lot of weight. My 17-year-old dog, which is a poodle, no issues with this dog other than he's getting old, so he's got dementia coming in. He's starting with some OCD, and because his anxiety is higher because he can't see and he can't hear. So with him, when's the right time for him? I get this question all the time, and what I usually tell people, make sure you go to a vet, have their pain score analyzed. Their muscles, their muscles are bones. Arthritis is setting in. You want to get them checked out for pain with legs. Spinal pain was another big one with one of my dogs. Get them on a painkiller. See how that does for them. It helps even with the anxiety, because as they get older, they start to have anxiety, which is normal. Emmett's losing his eyesight. He can't hear anymore. He's more anxious because he doesn't have his senses anymore to rely on. So he's a lot more jumpy. And what has happened now, I put him on gabapentin to help with his nerves, because he also has anxiety where he self-mutilates. He licks himself. And you see that a lot with older dogs, and they get licking granulomas. We put them on gabapentin, and that usually helps with that. Again, this is what I've done for veterinary, but you're good. If it's something where you think it might help your dog, ask your vet. See if that, but you have to bring your pet in, get the pain score done. See what your vet says about it, but gabapentin will help a little with anxiety because it has a little bit of serotonin uptake, but it helps with pain. It also is very safe. We use it with a lot of older dogs. So putting him on that helped a little bit. He doesn't do the licking quite as much. It also helped with his back pain. He had some neck back pain going on, which helped. But now I'm starting to see dementia kind of setting in. He's got this new thing where he's got OCD, where he goes outside, goes to a part in the yard, comes back, looks inside, goes out in the yard. So he does the same thing over and over again because he's worried about something. And it's because the dementia setting in. He can't remember if he went to the door already. He can't remember what he just did. Now, as far as, dementia goes, I believe as long as he's not in any physical pain, and he's at daycare, he's still doing his enrichment games, he's still happy, he still is wanting to learn. I mean, he can jump in my arms. He's 17 years old. He just can't see anymore. So, his depth perception is way off. But he's happy. He yodels like he's just, as long as he's happy, I'm okay. And as long as he's not showing any physical pain, I'm okay with that. Um,
And I think that's, when you're talking about it, is it time just because he got older and he's having some things, or are these things that are still manageable and he's still happy? And so clearly he's still happy. I think for a lot of people, when they know, like if they're noticing a dog that's losing a lot of weight or losing their hair and they're up there in age or their teeth are not as good as they used to be, I think a lot of people don't want to go to the vet right away. I think they talk themselves out of it because they're afraid that this could be time. And one of the things, that I want to say is that I want you guys to understand that when it is time, um, it's not a punishment. Euthanasia is not a punishment. I want everybody to think about it as one last gift you can give so that this pet or animal that you've had in your life doesn't suffer. And I think with Chloe's case with Emmett, he's still very happy and he's still active. I think it becomes, a situation where that's going to be a hard one to know, when is it time? Are we doing it too soon or aren't we doing it too soon? You guys all know, many of you, what I went through with Pagan in 2020. Pagan was my Great Dane that would have been 11 in November. And she had a clean bill of health in April of 2020. Her blood work was stellar. Those were the vet's words. Wow, this dog's going to be 11 in November. She's great. She's doing awesome, CJ. And then at the beginning of August, she developed a lump on her hind leg, and it seemed like it grew overnight. It was crazy. And we noticed she was having a little bit of difficulty with the gait within a couple of days of that appearing. So we took her into the vet, and the diagnosis was osteosarcoma. So my healthy dog, just a few months earlier, now had osteosarcoma. And at almost 11, she wasn't a candidate for um, an amputation. Her blood work was still good, but because of her age, they didn't think she'd adjust well. She was 128 pounds. They didn't feel that she'd adjust well. And they told me, they said, you probably have about 6 months. They sent us home with gabapentin. And it was very hard. It was hard. I brought her home. And for those of you on my Facebook, I did a journal, a video journal and picture journal. And what was happening is osteosarcoma, the leg was getting bigger. For those of you who don't know, osteosarcoma is a cancer. It's a bone cancer, but it comes from within the bone outward. So there's small breaks in the bone. It's incredibly painful. And my dog that they thought we could make comfortable for 6 weeks, I mean, I'm sorry, for 6 months, I think it was almost a little over 3 weeks from diagnosis, we had to bring her in. And the osteosarcoma had spread not only from her leg, but it spread into her ribs, into her lungs. She was having trouble breathing. And I question, should I have made the decision to euthanize earlier than I did? Um, but it was for the first few weeks, like I said, 2 weeks or so, she seemed happy. She was eating, she was good. And then that third week, we call the week of hell, she stopped eating. She stopped wanting to go out. She was having accidents, which for her, she was a very proud dog. She was ashamed, she was embarrassed that she was having these accidents. And so I regret letting her go. I probably should have put her down the day that they told me she had osteosarcoma, but I couldn't do it. And that's something that I have to deal with. And I know a lot of pet parents who've had to go down that road. question, did I wait too long? And I think I waited too long. I know she was ready. This was the height of COVID. They weren't going to let Christopher and I both in together, so we were able to go behind the vet hospital. We had a blanket laid out, her favorite blanket. We were able, it was a nice October day. I'm sorry, nice September day. We were able to sit on the blanket and hold her and pet her. And when they gave her the shot, she almost went immediately. Like she was ready. She just kind of fell back into Christopher's arms. But that was, it's hard even when they have cancer or when they're aging, there's no clear thing. And something else I want to say, I know a lot of people who believe that they shouldn't euthanize, that they should wait for their pet to pass on their own. And I'm going to tell you guys, from what I've seen, my own personal experience, it's very rare that they will pass peacefully on their own and they will suffer. And, I'm here to say, and I think Chloe will agree with me, that when it's time, you're not killing your pet. You are giving them a peaceful release. Um, and,
You're absolutely right, CJ. The osteosarcoma is probably one of the most painful cancers. I have dealt a lot with osteosarcomas. They are not, they're not fun. We used to have people that would bring them in for drips, because their dog was so painful. That at that point, we have to think, is that pet living for you? Not, they're usually not always living for themselves. They're living for you. And like you said, when she started to pee in the house and stuff like that, you could, one of my dogs did that. He had a brain tumor and he was pooping and he didn't want to and he stepped in it. And then I go in there and I of course laughed because I'm either going to, you either cry or you're going to laugh, like people do certain things. I kind of say, "Oh, buddy," and so that he didn't feel like his fault, but he did. You could tell he didn't feel good. He would hide in a corner, and I know he didn't want that. He's never done that, and that at that point was like, this is hurting him more than it's hurting. Like he's doing this to live for me at that point, and that's the hard part. That's what we have a hard time figuring out. Like, is my dog living for me? Do we take that into opinion? I definitely do because I've been through so many of them.
Yeah.
But that's what we have to ask. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves. And one of the big reasons why is during the holidays, when everybody's traveling, as a pet sitter, your dog has a major illness and you want somebody to watch your dog. This was never a great thing. I don't know about you, CD, but I've had a lot of experiences with these dogs and they're hanging on, but they're living for their owners. And when they stayed with me, they were depressed and I could tell they were not happy. And so I have had a couple of them that did pass away when the owners were away. It is not a great feeling for me. I feel awful as a sitter, but as a tech, and so I think when you're going on vacation and the holidays come, we have to really ask that. Is my pet living for me? And if they are, then please stay home with their dog and go on vacation next year. Or make a decision. I feel awful when it happens, but I'm sure you feel the same way, CJ.
Yeah, I do. I've actually had people over the years that weren't comfortable. They knew it was time, but they couldn't bring themselves to go to the vet. And they asked me, and they said, if I call and I make the arrangements and pay, could you pick him up and could you take him? And I've done it for so many. It's just, I don't know if I give off that persona or something that I'm okay with it or whatever. But I guess if the choice was for them to go and pass alone with someone they really didn't know, like a vet they see once or twice a year, versus me, who they saw, more than that, I've gone in and I've done that for people. And then I've gone and I've picked up the ashes. Um, for people that, I had an elderly woman, her horse broke a leg. It was a Christmas Eve morning. It went outside and there a hole under the ice and it snapped his leg. She couldn't bring herself to put it down. She actually had the vet come out, give a lot of pain medicine. She had a farmer down the road that had like a crane type tractor that actually picked this horse up and put it in a sling. And for, I think it was almost 4 months, Heidi lived that way because this was a mare that was born at the farm. So she raised her from a filly for 20 some years. She had given her lots of babies, and this elderly woman just couldn't bring herself to do it. And finally we said to her, I said, she's never gonna stand. She can't move. This isn't a life for her. Um, and I was there. I stayed in the barn the day when the vet put her down, and it was very hard, but um, a lot of people know that I'm willing to do that. If they can't bring themselves to be there, I would rather, sorry, I have a dog playing with a squeaker, if you can hear it. Um, thank God for animals, right? They lighten up these difficult topics. But what I wanted to say is that I would rather be there in someone's animal's last moments than have that animal suffer. And I have lost clients while pet owners or farm owners were away. Uh, and it breaks your heart. It really breaks your heart. In both cases, we knew that they probably would pass while their owners were away. But you do your best to comfort and you try to think about the good days the animal had and the good memories and that sort of thing. We have about 6 minutes left, Chloe, just so
Okay.
you know. If you want to say
Um,
some more things about euthanasia.
yeah,
Um,
the only other thing, and it's just to lighten the mood. Um, I have, as a trainer, I have done end of life training with some dogs with brain tumors or anything like that. And um, they do wonderful. I've had a good client of mine in Michigan, and her dog had epilepsy. It was due to a brain tumor, and he wasn't doing very well. And so we started doing some training with a little agility setup, and the vet was like, "He's a puppy again," and he did really well for like almost a year. The vet was amazed. So again, like if your animal is depressed and you want them to have a better quality of life, call me up. Let's do some, training. Get them to use their mind. I think that's why Emmett, my 17-year-old dog, is doing so well. Because we do a lot of the enrichment and stuff around here. We get his brain moving, we get him moving. But it makes their quality of life so much better. So just for those people that, want their pet to be happier longer, that is a great option. Your dog is never too old to do enrichment or any kind of little training. We want to keep them engaged. It helps with depression. That I think is why that dog lived for an extra, almost a year, was he wasn't depressed and laying around. So keep that in mind. Your trainer can help you. This is like not only, your vet's involved, your as I just showed you, your sitter's involved, your trainer's involved, and your veterinarian. We're all together in this. And that's why I want to open all the pathways of different options.
and I want to say, enrichment. I love the enrichment training that I took with you and learning more about it. I'm doing it with not only my own animals, but with clients. I'm doing it with cats now, where I'm hiding like catnip toys, dogs. I'm doing it with birds and even horses. I will hide carrots and apples in the paddock or in the pasture or in their stall and have them just kind of go and they're investigating and they're and they're doing it. And I've noticed that it really enrichment is awesome for any age animal. It's really good. And oh, one of the things I did want to say too on the subject of euthanasia is that for those of you that are wondering, well, how do we prepare for euthanasia? There are some really great people that you can talk to, like Chloe, that you can, bring your pet to, or just call and have a conversation. And there are some really great pet bereavement counselors that after the pet's gone, especially if you have children, that can talk them through those difficult days that come after.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to say? We've got about 3 minutes left.
I think I'm just going to touch on Halloween real quick. We'll get that in here because
Do
it's
you,
tomorrow.
oh, I was gonna
So
say, do you want to do another one for Halloween or?
no, I think it could be quick and easy. So
Okay, so here we go.
Halloween,
Halloween.
Halloween. So again, these guys are toddlers. They have a brain of a 2 or 3 year old. A lot of like I don't know about you, but I'm scared to death of clowns. I cannot do clowns. I scream. My hair gets up. And it's because of when I was a toddler, they took me to the circus, and I didn't like people in costumes or in anything.
I
It's scary.
I can't do clowns. My cousin had me try to watch Terrifier 3 with Art the Clown. Nope. Nope, not
Yeah,
doing it. I don't like it.
no.
I don't like none of them.
So put that in perspective. A lot of your dogs are gonna bark because of they're scary. They're gonna so if your dog is kind of does barks at little kids already, don't bring them out there and while these little kids are in costume, it's even scarier. So what we usually do is there's different options. We can put them in a different room away from the door. Don't have them looking as these kids are coming up to the door in a costume. Um, or management, baby gates, things like that to keep them away from it. Um, if they just go berserk, put them in a bedroom. And what my go-to is 90s Disney movies. And eventually we'll get into why it works, but it works. You got to use the ones in the 90s because they sing and then they stop, and then they sing and they stop. There's a reason why it works, and we'll get into eventually. But trust me, all my clients I've told that they're like, "Oh my gosh, that works." So you do Aladdin, Black or Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, those. High definition dogs can see. Regular TV cannot see. Gotta use high def. Put the volume up high so that they can't hear the doorbell every 5 minutes or hear those things, and give them something to do in there, something like a Kong, something that they really like. So one of the big things that I did for Halloween, this is called a licky mat. I did pumpkin with peanut butter and I made it into a pumpkin, with that. You put this down in the room. This one will probably only last probably about 10-15 minutes. I freeze them, so it's harder for them to just lick off. If you don't, they'll get through it in 5. So freeze them. But you can do a whole bunch of different things. I love to use bananas and mashed bananas in there. They seem to last longer. I think it's the gooiness. And they love banana and peanut butter. That's one of their favorite. You can do mashed potatoes, mashed sweet potatoes. There's so many different things. If you want to know, let me know. Send an email, and I can